That's, of course, probably why you are here. But in reflecting what I was going to talk about tonight, I listened to Naomi. I like very much what she has to say. I like what everybody had to say. It was a good thing for my heart to hear. And I think that the lessons are large. I'm older than most of you. You probably could all be my kids, although I couldn't biologically produce you all, but I got kids about your age, probably. And I spent my whole life fighting bad, stupid projects. Pretty much. Started around 17 fighting uranium mines. Realized that in the isolation of our indigenous communities, we had to break the isolation, and we should not be poisoned without, we had a right to be seen, and they should see our faces. And so we went. I've been to about every nuclear power plant in the United States protesting. And there's a reason there haven't been new nuclear power plants built in the past 30 years. It's because of people, People like us, people like your parents. We started doing that. We fought uranium mines, we fought coal strip mines, fought dam projects, fought nuclear waste dumps, every dumb thing they want to bring to our communities, or bring here. Bad idea. But every time you defeat something, you know that the reality is we didn't change the system. We didn't change our level of consumption. So you fight one nuclear power plant off, they just put dams up in northern Quebec. That's what they do. Or up in northern Manitoba. You fight off some oil someplace, they open it up someplace else. In the end, we have to deal with the systemic issues of a predator society. Because that is what we live in, a society based on empire, based on conquest. And it is not sustainable. And so we have to have the courage somehow to let go of some of what they put in our heads, or some of that Kool-Aid that we all drank. Because we did. We all drank it. We got North American entitlement issues. That entitle us to consume, a third of the world's resources, right? And say, it is unfortunate, good thing we're providing jobs for the rest of you over there. That's entitlement. First world problems, that's what we say in the house. My cell phone's not working today, first world problem. I know you all say these things. It's like first world problems. So how we rethink. Let me ask you to kind of try to set it aside for a couple minutes and think about what it is to have a worldview that might last 1,000 years. I've had a lot of privilege in my life, and in our community we have some teachings that I think are teachings of the essence of a sustainability. We have a teaching that is that the Creator's law is the highest law, higher than the laws made by nations, states, or municipalities, and one would do well to live in accordance with the Creator's law. We have a teaching in Dinaway Muganatuck, which means we are all related. After all, we're all like 99.9% the same, which I know really bummed out the white supremacists. But we're real close, And in our teachings as Anishinaabe people, we say our relatives have fins and roots, paws, hooves, wings. We are all related. What we understand is that things which are natural are cyclical. The moons, the tides, the seasons, our bodies themselves, cyclical. There's a whole accountability thing in that cyclical thing. And we understand, and one of our fundamental teachings is in each deliberation we consider the impact upon the 7th generation from now. Because we're the ones that have an excellent opportunity to do so. Are you here? So they count on us to look out for them. Oh, I'm back. That is pretty much not America or Canada, is it? Nope. Instead of believing that the Creator's law, We live in a continent that thinks that man's laws are the highest laws. So you can allocate pollution credits. You can change recommended daily allowances of pollutants according to who's in power. You could allocate and over-allocate the western water basins until there is none in there. And you can do the crime of the Athabascan River system, you can commit that crime under your law. Instead of believing that we're related, we are totally anthropocentric. Well, we're Eurocentric or, centric about our rights and entitlement as North Americans too, but we're just like all about us. So we make paupers of our relatives. Whether you are a salmon in a river system, or in the ocean, a whale, a wolf, we make paupers of them, or a buffalo. Drive them to the edge of extinction and call it Darwin. No, it's public policy. That's what does that. Greed. Instead of having a cyclical system, we live in a linear world. Naomi's critiques are very good on this. The reality is the two best examples of a linear economy. First is waste management. Growing industry, If you want long-term stability, offer to be a waste dump. Because that's what we produce. 30 trillion pounds in the US. That doesn't even include wastewater, which I haven't figured out what wastewater is since they aren't making any new water. That's a linear economic system. Similarly, we're very good at producing waste people. That's the prison industrial complex. United States leads in that. Of the 9.1 million prisoners in the world, 2.1 million are in the United States. Growth economy. I got plenty of relatives that have been in and out of that. And that's the community I work in. Not sustainable. Growth economies based on linear systems. And finally, instead of thinking intergenerationally, what do we do well? Corporate profits quarterly. That's what it's all about. And we, North Americans, I'm up to 6 kids I raise now. I didn't actually produce them all, just wanted to share that with you. Really impatient. Average North American child watches a TV show, 47 minutes. They got a little problem, develops, little character development, solved. Like that. That's not real. Things take a while to get messed up, things take a while to fix. Have some patience, be long haul people. Take care of yourselves. So here we are, this opportunity to do the right thing. We need to make sure that no matter how many times they say the lie or they'll tell the lie, doesn't mean it's true. You know how this works. So for instance, one of the best lies I hear them say is, you cannot match American energy demand or Canadian energy demand with renewables. You guys heard this one?
Lie.
Well, first, there is some truth in it. Because in the US, 57% of the energy that is produced between point of production and point of consumption, 57% is wasted. Highly inefficient systems between power lines, inefficient production, inefficient consumption. You understand what I'm saying? So, really, who would want to meet such an inefficient demand? We shouldn't be forced to meet an inefficient system. We should create efficiency in our systems. Second great myth is, of course, cannot feed the world. So should we leave that to Monsanto? I'm thinking pretty much not. Third, the economy will fail if we save the environment. But the economy will fail if we do not stop the leak that we have, whether it is the hemorrhaging of the single largest transfer of wealth in the history of the world, which exists right now, to oil companies as kind of a leak, or the fact that each and every one of our communities leaks out most of its food and energy economy to purchases from elsewhere. It's a leak. The fourth myth is that there is some kind of a geoengineering or that technology will save us. This usually has to do with the idea of a nuclear waste ferry or a carbon sequestration ferry. Neither exist. Although, they might live with the tooth fairy, I'm not sure. So let me tell you my experience. I've been at this 30 years. I fight a lot of the same projects over and over. I also am privileged to live on my own reserve in northern Minnesota, where theoretically, you would look at us and say, those guys don't have a shot. Every statistic you do not want to have, we have. We once again beat the Red Lake Reservation in the poorest county in the state of Minnesota. We're not successful by US standards. It turns out that I don't want their pie. I want a different pie. Turns out we don't want to meet their standards. What an idea. Turns out what we want is indignity. Some control over our future, some clean water, some clean air, some food that we know where it came from, and some energy that wasn't extracted at the price of someone else's ecosystem or our own. So we start working on this, and first we did this study, food and energy. We discovered we spent $8 million a year on food, of which we spend $7 million like that off reservation at Walmart, Food Service of America. It's a leak, represents a quarter of our economy. Our second economic leak on my reservation is energy. We spend a quarter of our money on energy, of which all of it is spent essentially off reservation, buying stuff from large corporations. So what if we were the people that try to stop the leak? We decided that that might be a really good idea. So you start with some efficiency, put up some solar thermal panels on the south side of the poorest people in your community's houses to reduce 25% of their heating bill. You turn from fossil fuels to wood, so we got a lot of that. You can, I don't know if you know this about wood, but you can make heat cutting it, and if you have issues, like I don't have a shrink, I have a wood pile. I find that works really well. It's cheaper and I get more done. My house is full. My whole family has issues. We go to the wood pile. And we put up wind turbine. So we're working on this wind turbine thing. We have this thing going in northern Minnesota. I call it wind turbine envy. And the thing about putting up a wind turbine, for those of you who want to be liberated, is when you put up a wind turbine, you get to say you had an erection. Isn't that great? We're having an erection party down on White Earth. You guys can all come see. We're going to have a really big erection this week. It's totally liberating. Anyway, so we need a lot more of those. But in our community, we put up this one wind turbine, and then my tribal council that, always try to compete, they put up a bigger one. I said, good. You can have a bigger erection. That's fabulous. And this other reservation want to have a bigger erection than that. I said, that's just great. But the key in this is that we want to be the indigenous people that actually own our energy system. I don't want to lease it to, I don't know, Excel Corporation or Ontario Power or Ontario Hydro. I don't want to lease it to anybody. I want to own it. We don't want to be in the back seat. We want to be driving. And so for that model, there's not a North American model for that. You got to go to Denmark. Those really radical Danes, where about 75% of the wind capacity is owned by farmers or co-ops. That's how they became the world leader in wind energy. And I know Ontario has some pretty progressive policies, but anytime it's, you just got to be owned local. You got to know how to fix it. And then our food. See, I brought this because I carry around my corn. My father, he passed away about 15 years ago. And he used to say to me, Winona, you're a really smart woman, but I don't want to hear your philosophy if you can't grow corn. That's what he said. He wasn't a highly educated man. He went to school to 8th grade. But he was highly educated as an Indigenous person. And that's what he told me. And because I wasn't so smart, it took me a long time to figure out what he meant. But I'm a corn grower. I grew this corn. This is a corn variety that's called Manitoba White Flint. This is grown about 100 miles north of Winnipeg. When the corn crop failed in Minnesota and Wisconsin this year, our crop didn't. When the sear winds came through and blew over Monsanto's route of breeding corn, our corn stayed. Because our corn is short, and it is drought resistant, it is frost resistant, and it is wind resistant. This is what we need to grow if we want to feed ourselves. And it doesn't get shipped from a different country. It gets grown here. That is something that comes from this continent. Originally from South America, but we are the northernmost corn growers in the world, the Anishinaabe. And growing this taught me a lot about how we were going to survive. And where we were going to go. So I'm one of these people that does like you do. I fight a lot of bad guys, but I also try to do the right thing at home and relocalize my food system, not just by growing anything, but by growing things that are from here. This is our post-colonial food crop, and we like it. So in closing, I encourage you in your work. I encourage you to get out of the box of where we are. This month that we are in now, about to close, we call this moon in our Anishinaabe language, Banakwayo Gizis. Means leaves falling moon. Gashkadno Gizis is the one that follows that. Freezing moon. Manadu Gizis Soons, Gushi Manadu Gizis. Namebina Gizis, Sanabana Gizis, hard-crusted snow moon, maple syruping moon, Wabagana Gizis, Odamina Gizis, Mean Gizis, blueberry moon, Minominake Gizis, wild rice making moon, Watibaga, leaves changing. Why did I tell you those? Thought you might like to hear my language. But I also wanted to see if you noticed that none of those moons is named after a Roman emperor. Can have an entire worldview that's not based on empire, and it's okay.